Beneath the weathered limestone hills southwest of Jerusalem, a cave holds its breath. For centuries, it's been honored as the burial site of a biblical figure, Jesus' own midwife. But recent evidence points in an entirely different direction, toward royalty, power, and an identity lost in time. This isn't just a tomb. It's a portal into contested memory, a place where archaeology, religion, and history collide. For over a millennium, believers have made pilgrimages to this sacred spot, venerating it as the final resting place of Salome, the midwife present at the Nativity. But a new study proposes a stunning alternative. This may actually be the tomb of a Herodian princess, perhaps even the sister of King Herod the Great. If true, this revelation not only changes the meaning of the site, but reshapes our understanding of Judea's political and religious landscape during one of the most pivotal eras in ancient history. About 30 miles southwest of Jerusalem, nestled among the whispering pine trees of Israel's Lachish forest, lies a cave system carved into the soft, pale chalk of the hills. The area is peaceful now, a landscape of tangled roots and sun-dappled rock. But 2,000 years ago, it was bustling with royal estates, Roman trade roads, and Jewish settlements tied to the political elite. Winding trails now used by hikers once carried Herodian officials and Roman messengers. Nearby olive presses and wine production centers linked the region economically to the wider Mediterranean. Yet beneath all this surface activity, hidden in the folds of limestone and scrub, this cave remained untouched until fate, or perhaps greed, intervened. The site sits near what was once the bustling city of Mareshah and the fortress of Lachish, both of which held strategic importance during the Hellenistic and Roman periods. This region formed part of the network of Judean strongholds that connected Jerusalem to the Mediterranean, a corridor pulsing with commerce, politics, and shifting allegiances. Nobles, soldiers, scribes, and traders once crossed these same hills, unaware of the secret resting in the bedrock beneath their feet. Its rediscovery began not with science, but with crime, when looters broke into what they thought was an ordinary burial chamber in the early 1980s. What they found would later prove to be anything but ordinary. The Israel Antiquities Authority soon stepped in and began systematic excavations, which would reveal not just a burial cave, but a palatial tomb complex layered with 2,000 years of sacred history. In May 2025, archaeologists Vladik Lifshitz and Nir Shimshon Paran published their findings in Atikot, the IAA's peer-reviewed journal. Their study presented a burial site dating to the Second Temple period, an era marked by political turmoil, Roman rule, and intense religious expression. The tomb featured an elaborate courtyard paved with ashlar stones, a monumental arched entrance framed by finely cut masonry, and multiple kokim burial niches carved with unusual symmetry and care. Inside the cave, the remains of carved ossuaries, limestone boxes used to hold bones, were found in alcoves lining the chambers. Among them was one bearing the name Salome. Though a common name, its placement in this particular setting caught the archaeologists' attention. Could this name link the tomb not to a humble midwife but to royalty? As Christianity spread throughout the region in the Byzantine period, the cave took on new spiritual significance. By the 5th century CE, early Christian pilgrims believed it to be the final resting place of Salome the midwife, a woman described in apocryphal Gospels as witnessing and assisting the miraculous birth of Jesus. One tale, from the Proto-Evangelium of James, tells of her initial skepticism, her cursed hand, and her healing after touching the Christ child. These stories, passed down through generations, transformed the tomb from a family burial site into a sacred shrine. The cave evolved physically and symbolically. Architectural additions were made to accommodate visitors. Pilgrimage infrastructure expanded. Soon the cave was no longer merely a burial site. It was a destination for divine encounter. Pilgrims flocked to it. Hundreds of small clay oil lamps were left behind as offerings, some still blackened from flame, their soot preserved like silent prayers. Carved crosses, Greek inscriptions, and devotional graffiti decorate the interior walls. Some names, others pleas for healing, others just marks of faith from those who made the journey. Small bronze crosses, fragments of textiles, and the occasional bead or ceramic shard tell of people who came not for archaeology, but for miracles. Many came from across the Byzantine Empire, carrying stories, beliefs, and hopes. Some even etched their footprints near the entrance, as if trying to leave behind part of their journey. This layering of religious history created a site with a dual identity, once royal, later sacred. But Lifshitz and Paran now argue that the Salome buried here may not be the Christian figure at all. They propose she may have been someone else entirely, Salome, the sister of Herod the Great. This Salome is documented by the Jewish Roman historian Flavius Josephus as a major political figure in the Herodian court. She was granted land, orchestrated political marriages, and even divorced and remarried, a radical act for a woman of her time. She was known not only for her wealth and influence, but for her ruthlessness. Herod trusted her, but also feared her. The cave's opulence supports this theory. Architectural details, such as Corinthian column fragments, decorative pilasters, and a mikveh for ritual purity, point toward an elite Jewish burial. The cave's proximity to a once grand estate only strengthens the case. The finesse of the stonework, the size of the complex, and the presence of Herodian-era materials suggest it belonged to someone far above the ordinary. And it's not just what was built, it's what was preserved. Tools used for stone cutting were found nearby, indicating the work may have been supervised or customized. The burial chamber shows signs of pre-Christian ritual use, including purification steps and layout patterns consistent with upper-class Jewish burial customs of the late 1st century BCE. If this is indeed Salome the Royal, then the site carries an astonishing transformation, from a center of Jewish aristocratic memory to a Christian place of healing and sanctity. This reinterpretation is more than a relabeling of a tomb. It reveals how history is layered, reimagined, and reinterpreted over time. A Jewish royal tomb becomes a Christian shrine. A political figure becomes a spiritual one. Names carry forward, but their meanings shift. Today, the cave is officially part of Israel's Judean King's Trail, a network of archaeological and heritage sites that map the legacy of ancient Judea. It now receives careful preservation, digital mapping, and public access efforts. But questions remain. Could new technology unlock answers? Ground-penetrating radar could reveal undiscovered chambers. Isotopic analysis of bones could reveal diet and geographic origin. Ancient DNA, if recovered, could establish lineage, perhaps linking the occupant to known Herodian family members buried at Herodium or Jerusalem. And if this is indeed Salome, Herod's sister, what does that mean for how we tell stories of power, gender, and faith? She was a woman who navigated a world of men, who shaped dynasties and ruled territory. Her transformation into a midwife saint is symbolic of something deeper, how memory shifts power into myth and myth into memory again. Her case also reminds us how women's roles are flattened in historical memory. As centuries passed, Salome's agency, influence, and ambition faded into legend, and then transformed into a gentle role aligned with nurturing and belief. This evolution mirrors broader patterns in religious and political storytelling, where complex women are often recast as caretakers, martyrs, or saints. A limestone cave, a sacred name, a story rewritten. This site, once thought to cradle the bones of a saint, may actually entomb the legacy of a Jewish ruler, one whose voice echoed in palaces, not mangers. As new evidence comes to light, we find that history is rarely what it seems. It bends, it shifts, It surprises. To follow more discoveries that challenge what we think we know about the ancient world, subscribe and turn on notifications. The past isn't finished speaking, and neither are we.